Imagine being the leading fundraising platform on the internet, and you have a massive, possibly record-breaking, historical fundraiser on your hands, the Freedom Convoy 2022. Imagine nuking it, sacrificing it, and potentially destroying your business over politics. It's kind of crazy, but that's what GoFundMe basically did. GoFundMe claims, well, we can't get involved in unlawful activity, so we have to eliminate your nearly $9 million fundraiser for this protest. Well, the funny thing about GoFundMe is that they allow, and currently still do, fundraisers for violent riots. In fact, there was one far left GoFundMe where they literally stole a building. They went inside a building, took it over, and GoFundMe funded it. Yo, I know you hear me say it a lot, but civil war, look, you know, the reason I say something like that is just because at a certain point, you cannot beat down half the country and think they're just going to sit back and accept it. Deadline reports GoFundMe now faces investigations from Florida, Texas, Missouri, West Virginia, and Freedom Convoy donations. When GoFundMe, a massive platform, fundraising platform, allows Black Lives Matter and Antifa to raise money for overtly illegal activities, when they allow people to raise money for overtly partisan activities, but not you, it's just another grain of sand in the heap that is piling up, which says you are a second-class citizen. You have no rights, you have no freedom, and you'll be held to account. And Black Lives Matter and Antifa can murder, burn, destroy, and they will get protection from the state. At what point does someone just lose their mind? Because we can't go on this way. There needs to be equality under the law, the 14th Amendment, but we don't have it. Now, perhaps something will change in November with the midterm elections, but I'm not entirely confident. You know, last night on Timcast IRL, make sure you check this one out. We had Thomas Massie and Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm a big fan of both. I've been familiar with Thomas Massie's work more than Marjorie Taylor Greene's, and I got to be honest. Before we actually had Marjorie Taylor Greene on the show, I just assumed she was, some weirdo. And then you actually sit down and you realize, why did I fall for the lies from the media? You ask yourself that. And then you start to realize there are good people, very few of them, but they're in Congress and they're challenging the system. And it was an honor and a privilege to host both of those individuals on my show, Timcast IRL. And I'm grateful to everybody who helps support our work. We need to start being active, being more active, and standing up for ourselves. And right now, this means getting involved in local politics, getting involved in state-level politics. And it means you need to talk with your states about what GoFundMe did. I know this isn't all about GoFundMe, what I'm saying right now, but the point is there's a reason why it's Florida, Texas, Missouri, West Virginia going after GoFundMe for what appears to be, at least from what they're saying, a violation of the law. Well, it's because their constituents demand it. It's because they're active. It's because they don't sit around. It's because they just pick up the phone. It's really that simple. You take your cell phone, you call and say, I want to talk. I want to leave a message, send you a letter, and you do it politely. Like, hey, man, just wanted to get you, raise your awareness about what GoFundMe is doing. This is clearly partisan action. We cannot allow this. We can't stand for this. A lot of people have mentioned, a lot of people on the right, they call it a double standard. They say, the left gets away with this and the right doesn't. And Will Chamberlain, I think he put it eloquently on Timcast IRL when I said, it's not a double standard. It's just a single standard. And he says, no, it's hierarchy. And I'm like, that's a good way to put it. It's hierarchy. You are the outgroup. You are the second-class citizen. Your politics don't matter. They don't care. They will violate any and all rules and laws to crush you. Here's the story from Deadline. There's an update to this. I'll read the initial report. They say the GoFundMe website reversed course and decided to automatically refund donations to the trucker organizations leading a protest against Canadian pandemic restrictions. But politicians vowed to investigate the website's original plans for dealing with the donations. Ron DeSantis, as many of you may have heard, said he wanted to look into this. But then we got the West Virginia Attorney General joining in, asking his residents to contact his office to let him know if they had been victimized by a deceptive act or practice by GoFundMe. GoFundMe originally shut down what it called law enforcement reports of violence and unlawful activity, which is an outright lie. No, hold on. Yeah, maybe there's violence at the trucker convoy. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if some fights broke out or something like that. But the lie is how GoFundMe is like, well, we have to shut it down. But you know, when Antifa steals a building, when Antifa burns down buildings, destroys buildings, smashes windows, literally kills people, well, that's allowed to, you can fundraise for that. When Kamala Harris solicits donations to bail these people out, I think it's about time you realize that you are a second-class citizen. You are. I think most of you probably realized it for a long time, but it's overt now. Well, we're taking back the power. This is not about pro-life versus pro-choice. This is not about tax policy. This is not about borders. This is not about foreign policy. It is not about policy at all. It's about equality under the law. And right now, half this country is not being held equally, is not being treated equally under the law. Now, I think it's funny. The left will say stupid things like, oh, the poor right-wing victims, blah, blah, blah. Listen, I'm not talking about every circumstance ever. I'm talking about one specific thing. I'm talking about how the right can get censored for saying learn to code, but the left can call for overt violence. You want evidence? Just watch the podcast I did on Joe Rogan with Jack Dorsey. We pulled up an Antifa tweet advocating for violent extremism, and they wouldn't take it down. But someone on the right simply jokingly says learn to code, and they get suspended, even if it's a senior level staff member for, I think it was a Daily Caller. I think the editor in chief, actually. It's a while ago, so I can't remember. But one of the high level staffers at the Daily Caller, which is a NewsGuard certified news source, by the way, tweeted out something referencing learn to code and got suspended for it. Yeah, that's second-class citizen. It's because the big tech companies are overtly partisan, existing in one part of the world, and they treat you like second-class citizens. Now, you want to talk about law, you want to talk about privilege and all that stuff, take it somewhere else. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how big tech is shutting down certain political ideas. And the fact that they target minorities, black conservatives, Asian conservatives as well, just goes to show it's not a race thing. It's just an ideas thing. They say the website later scrapped its plan, saying donor feedback led it to simplify things, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, what had happened was GoFundMe was trying to sneak past. You know, you get tens of thousands of people to donate. Notifying by email, people aren't going to fill out the refund form. Like when you email everybody, I'll put it this way. If I sent out an email to every member over at timcast.com and it said, if you'd like your money back, do this. Yeah, most people wouldn't see it. And so it's a dirty game GoFundMe was playing. By the way, go to timcast.com and become a member if you want to make sure we can keep doing this work. We really do need your support because we are member funded. And of course, we have people coming after us all the time. The update is the Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton said Wednesday that the office will investigate GoFundMe after its decision to end a fundraising effort assisting the Freedom Convoy in Canada. Paxton said they will review possible breaches of violations of the Texas Deceptive Trade Practices Act. Missouri's AG, Eric Schmidt, is also probing the company, accusing GoFundMe of trying to silence the Freedom Convoy. The protest is broadening outside of Ottawa as well. Convoys are gearing up elsewhere in Canada, the U.S., Europe, and New Zealand. Get this. The people are rising up. Now take a look at this. It's really incredible. You know, we've got right now U.S. $8.1 million raised on Give, Send, Go. The reason this is fascinating is that they are now rivaling the original GoFundMe. The original GoFundMe page was 10 million Canadian, which was just about $8 million. Now we can see the Give, Send, Go is just about it was a little bit over $8 million. In which case, Give, Send, Go may now have a historical and record-breaking fundraiser on its hand that GoFundMe walked away from. You know what? Fine. Let them do it. Let GoFundMe, let Twitter, let Facebook nuke themselves. When Facebook stock drops 30%, Peter Thiel leaves the board. You got YouTube, and now they're nuking shows, so people are going to Rumble, and Rumble's growing in massive value. Spotify, same problem. What's going to happen is what's called the parallel economy. I mentioned this in 2018, talking about censorship. And I don't know if I mentioned this. I think I talked about this on the Rogan Experience, that if you keep eliminating conservatives from your platforms, they'll eventually just build their own platforms. The idea that you could ban someone from financial services or social media and they would simply cease to exist is insane. So eventually what happens is a parallel economy emerges. We're there. Gab, for instance, is talking about building its parallel economy, launching it. They're doing payment processors. We're seeing it. Dan Bongino, Rumble, all of these platforms. You know what? They are now making sure that there is a conservative or more libertarian-minded tech opportunity. Silicon Valley is imploding. Like I said, Facebook's value drops 30%. And now we're going to start seeing rivals that believe more in free speech. Why use Facebook at all? I mean, nobody seems to care anymore. No one cares about that profile and being in touch with people. It's kind of interesting, to be honest. Facebook is a profile where people have information about their lives, but we just don't care. We don't follow that stuff. I mean, young people, especially Instagram and TikTok. So if you don't want to use Facebook, use minds.com. And then you can follow your friends and family, and you don't got to worry about censorship. You can build a business. You don't got to worry about censorship. Rumble, I'll tell you this. If you are someone who's trying to get into podcasting or video production, you want to be on Rumble. If you are just starting out, I would say start on Rumble. Long-term investment, I think it's a better idea. More active engagement and more opportunity for reach. The way YouTube works now is that the ladder's been pulled up. It's possible to get big on YouTube, but it is absolutely elitist. If you produce viral videos or pranks or jokes or gags, you're going nowhere. If you want to do a podcast, YouTube is not going to allow it. It'll be really, really difficult for you to grow your channel because, like I said, they pull the ladder up. Now, Rumble. There's a lot of content that was produced on YouTube back in the day that was edgy, shocking, funny. And these things went viral. People shared these videos. You can't do that on YouTube anymore. You can upload a video and then get it shared around, and YouTube will never promote it. You can start a live stream on YouTube, and YouTube will block people from watching it. Yeah, Rumble doesn't do that. So I tell you this, you got to get started somewhere else. Twitter, I think, is a bad idea. It's growing, but it's just a cesspool of garbage and filth. That's why I don't really take it seriously. But if you want to make content, Rumble is your safest bet. If you're on YouTube and you start growing in popularity, let's say this. Let's say you're a live streamer of these convoys. What did we see? YouTube shut down the convoy live streams. Rumble wouldn't do that. So YouTube may have the bigger audience, but for someone who's just starting out, YouTube will nuke you in 2 seconds if you're a real threat to the established order. Rumble will gleefully promote you because they want to take over. They want to build their company. That's competition, baby. Let's take a look at what's happening around the world. Check this out. Anti-vaccine convoy forms in France, mimicking Canada's protesters. Anti-vaccine. No, it's an anti-mandate protest, okay? Dozens of trucks and vehicles left southern France on Wednesday and headed for Paris as part of a convoy opposing the country's vaccination pass program. Oh, so they're opposed to the mandates, not the vaccines. Uh-huh. The French protest was the latest reflection. And I want to say something, too, as well. I literally don't care if someone is anti-vaccine. Literally don't care. The establishment has lost any and all goodwill. I don't care about your position on things. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. If I'm sick, I'm going to go to my trusted medical professional. Take care of business. You should do the same. If you don't like vaccines, I literally don't care. If these people are protesting actual vaccine, like literally outright just being like, we don't like vaccines, I don't care either. Literally don't care. The establishment has lost all goodwill. There was a period where I'd be like, come on, guys, don't be an anti-vaxxer, Now I'm just like, I literally don't care at all. Okay. There's so many people who say things like, no, we don't oppose vaccination. We just oppose the mandates. And I'm just like, yeah, don't care. Literally don't care. It used to be that we all wanted to signal that we were reasonable people. Look, I think vaccinations are fantastic. I absolutely do. And I think mRNA technology is brilliant. I really do. There's talk about using mRNA technology for cancer and for HIV and things like that. And I'm like, that's what it's all about. When they announced the mRNA stuff, I'm like, that's what we're talking about. Like we can really rapidly advance vaccinations and medical technology using this stuff. And so I was like, I want to make sure everybody knows that, right? But they just keep saying anti-vaxxer over and over and over again. So now I'm just literally like, yeah, I don't even care anymore. Like you can be a hollow earth believing, a flat hollow earth donut universe believing anti-vaxxer. And I'm going to be like, congratulations on your protest. I don't care about the establishment. I don't care about their opinions. They have lost all benefit of the doubt. They have lost all credibility. Literally don't care. Because I tell you this, I just don't believe them. I just don't believe anything they're saying. Look at this lie. Anti-vaccine convoy. They're lying. It's a lie. These people could be driving around with big flat moons and be like, we're flat moon believers. And I'd be like, okay, the media is probably lying about it, so I don't know what's going on. So why should I trust these people? Let's head over to our good friends over in New Zealand. New Zealand Convoy clogs streets near Parliament protest vaccine mandates. Yeah, in New Zealand, they are having their own Freedom Convoy. I don't know how big it is, but it is spreading. We're seeing it across Europe. We're seeing talk about it in the U.S. Some people are trying to encourage a protest to shut down the Super Bowl. I don't know if that's a good idea because we're all really excited for the Super Bowl, you know. So I don't know if targeting people's enjoyment will make a successful protest. But, you know, people protesting in D.C., that happens all the time, and that sends a message to the political elites. Shutting down the Super Bowl will just piss off regular people. Most people are going to be like, come on, man. Like, it's this Sunday, you know, we all want to be chilling, and we got our own little parties planned and want to have a good time, watch Super Bowl or whatever. You know, I'm not a big football guy, but the Super Bowl is mostly about just an excuse to get together with your friends, hang out, put on the TV, have some chips and dip and pizza and wings and all that good stuff. And it's fun. You know, it's fun to have that get together. Now, over in France, here's the crazy thing. Apparently, they're threatening 2 years in prison for anybody who engages in this convoy. You know, man, more power to these people. More power to all the protesters. I just don't care anymore. You know, I'll probably talk about this in another segment, but inflation, the report just came out and it's 7.5% year over year, which is once again the worst we've seen since the 80s. And I mean, it is shockingly brutal. Now, people don't realize it's very, very possible that when all of the mandates and restrictions are removed, inflation is going to erupt. We'll say erupt. It's going to erupt because it's going to skyrocket. With everybody flooding into the market, everyone trying to get jobs, with all the restrictions and moratoriums and whatever, everything slowly being removed, I think we're going to see a massive explosion of inflation, which could threaten the stability of our economy more than it already has, because it's already really, really bad. 7.5%, man. There's a viral post where a woman said she goes to the grocery store every week to buy the same things, you know, milk, bread, eggs, cheese, or whatever. And she sees it every week. She buys the exact same things and the prices keep going up. But she tells her friends and they don't believe her or they ignore her. This is what you got to understand. There are some people on fixed incomes or through teens. And so every Sunday they go out, get a half gallon of milk, get a loaf of bread, get a carton of eggs, get a pack of cheese. They know how much it costs every week. Every week they swipe their card and it's, you know, that's $73.29. And then every week they come out, it's like, that's $77.29, that's $84.29, that's $96.34. And then they're like, why is the price going up every single week? They can see it. I mentioned this before, but I talk to people in my local grocery store periodically and they say prices are going up like crazy. I don't want to get too much into that, but I just want to point out, the system is in flames. It is crumbling, and it is because of the mandates and the restrictions and the lockdowns. Not only are we learning now from Johns Hopkins University that it was a screw up, the lockdowns didn't do anything except destroy the economy. And who do we have to blame for that? Well, let's be real. Democrats. I know. The left would be like, see, this proves Tim is right wing because he's blaming Democrats. I don't see Kristi Noem shutting down her state. Quite the opposite. Ron DeSantis opened up his state. Abbott in Texas opened up his state. Republican states seem to mostly reopen and got rid of these restrictions. West Virginia, interestingly, was one of the states. They never locked down or anything like that. I think. I'm not sure, but they did have mask mandates. But West Virginia saw a little bit of growth. So you look at the blue states and they're crumbling. People are fleeing these blue states for red states. It was Democrats. Now, Jen Psaki wants to come out and say the lockdowns were the fault of the previous administration. No, it was Democrat governors supported by Democrats. You've got, it's such a strange time, but the overt tribalism is just, there's no fixing it. There's no fixing it. The left is now claiming this worker uprising. Look at Freedom Convoy trucker protest leads to auto plant shutdowns. Okay, whatever. It's a general strike, isn't it? Truckers are engaging in a general strike and the left is upset about it. It's quite incredible. It's quite incredible. The hypocrisy on display across the board. And I've said it before and I will say it again. I absolutely defend the peaceful protests of BLM and Extinction Rebellion. I don't support the violent riots. So if you want to engage in nonviolent civil disobedience, I got nothing to say, but all right, I respect it. I do. I may not agree with what you're doing, but I respect your right to protest. Well, here we are. The hierarchy, the double standard. The Democrats will raise money for criminals to get out of jail and then try and lock you up for life. They'll put you in solitary confinement in D.C., but nobody from Black Lives Matter or Antifa is going to face any real repercussions. I mean, obviously some have. It's a bit hyperbolic to say. Many have been charged, but nowhere near as many as, we saw on January 6th. They're sending a message. And that message is, when Antifa burns down a government building, yeah, okay, well, then they come and they arrest you. But when you burn down small businesses, they bail you out. When a right-wing individual protests at a government building, they throw not just the book at you, but the whole bookshelf, maybe even a library. They want you to realize this. Do not challenge their power, ever. That's not the way the government's supposed to work. So we had Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massie on the show last night, and they mentioned how that Congress is basically run by these permanent staffers. It's basically run by these elites who don't give the rank and file members any real access. So you can get elected, you can show up in D.C., and there's some piece of trash like Pelosi who controls everything. And you're not going to get these people out. This system doesn't work. This is not how Congress should be working. It's supposed to be the voice of the people are being represented by the House. The problem is when you have millionaires, people worth hundreds of millions of dollars like Pelosi in control of everything, never giving it up, then the people don't have a voice. Something needs to change. And I'll tell you one thing. The truckers have certainly made their voice heard. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I will see you all then.